Hey guys, and welcome to Let's Play Double Dragon Neon. This game was originally released on the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live Arcade back in September of 2012, but just recently saw a re-release on Steam. I want to say it was just a couple weeks ago, and I picked it up there, played it for the first time, and found out I really like it a whole lot. I'd heard about it, of course, back when it came out the first time, and saw the concept and was kind of iffy on it. Like, you know, I kind of like the old Double Dragon games, but I'm not real sure how a modern kind of reimagining would go. But once I got into it, I gave it a chance, and was basically hooked from the minute I started playing it. So yeah, like I said, it's kind of a reimagining of the original Double Dragon, mostly the NES game, which was the one I played. There was also an arcade version, which I never really got around to, but I ended up liking it a whole lot. So we're going to be playing here on the Double Dragon difficulty, which means I'm going to have to continue from my old file. We've got a couple different difficulties here. Basically, they just increase the enemy stats. So we're going to be playing on the hardest one since I put quite a bit of time into it. I should be pumped up and ready to go. So here's our world select screen. We've got, you know, kind of a map thing going on here. Pretty self-explanatory. Got a few levels to go through. Let's just go ahead and start with the first one. So if you needed any more indication that this was a reimagining of the first game, this intro is pretty iconic, and I think they recreated it pretty well there.
Marion? Oh man, not this again.
Alright, so now we're free to go. We've got our standard repertoire of attacks, punches, and kicks, along with that little spinning finisher. Got our jump kicks, and we also have these crouching attacks. We can do a leg sweep or a flying knee. You can also just crouch by hitting left trigger. We'll get into what that's used for here in just a bit when we get on our first fight. Of course, smashing up things will yield collectibles, and now we've got our first dudes here, the Williams. So as you can see, the key here is basically using that duck in order to dodge attacks. When you do that, you get what's called Gleam, which the game says it doubles your attack, but honestly, I feel like it does way more than that, because things go down so quickly when you do it. So really, that's going to be the key to taking down most enemies. You can basically just take them out with one attack, and it's going to make things a lot quicker and a lot easier. You know, otherwise, especially at this difficulty, you know, this is the hardest one in the game. They'll take a while to go down, but you can see I can just one-shot those guys with the baseball bat as long as I have Gleam. So I've got our second enemy type, the Linda. These guys usually come with whips, so they can be a little bit tough to dodge. The timing's kind of strange, but, you know, a little bit of practice, you'll get the hang of it. There we go. So you kind of have to wait a little bit. It's a bit strange. They also have these really fast kicks if they don't have whips, so those can kind of surprise you. It's also worth mentioning that if the enemy is attacking with a weapon, they will kind of ignore your attacks, so you still have to make sure you dodge it. And of course, all the weapons the enemies use we can also pick up and use. So, you know, that's pretty much standard fare for Double Dragon. You'll notice a lot of similarities to the first level from the NES game if you've played that before here. So we've got this key, we can use it to unlock these things, get some rewards. You can see a tape has showed up, so let's pick that up. We got Absorb. What does that mean? Well, let's check it out. So this is our menu where we've got our special attacks. You may have noticed that little spin kick that I did earlier. That was a special attack that I've upgraded. You've got all these different things. Basically, as you collect tapes, they get stronger. You can see that one I've collected 50 of 50, so it's at its strongest point. 10 out of 10, 10 out of 30, and it's a bit weak. We can also switch over to our stances here. This is the balance stance, which I primarily use because it's basically just the one that gets you the most stats. Ugh, no thanks. So, they got different variations. You can see some give you different stuff. This will increase magic regeneration rate. This will stun enemies more easily. And you can see it has a little bit more attack than the balanced stance. But of course, you've got to power these up with tapes as well. So this is kind of the barrier to, I mean, aside from it not being unlocked, being able to start Double Dragon just immediately. Got to play on normal first and then the Dragon difficulty to build yourself up for the harder stuff, you know. And of course, they all have their own little songs as well, which is kind of interesting. Unfortunately, I never really sit down and take the time to listen to them. And it's also worth mentioning, you probably noticed the music. Again, if you've played any of the old Double Dragon games, you realize this theme is kind of a more modern remix of the classic themes. And we've also got our favorite enemy, Abobo. This guy, of course, you know, pretty well known among Double Dragon fans. Got his own little spin-off fan game. You may have heard of Abobo's Big Adventure that was kind of big a while back. So he goes down pretty simply. And of course, extra lives are strewn about pretty much every level. They do quite a lot to help you out, actually. If you destroy things, you can find a lot of health, and you can sometimes find quite a few extra lives as well. It's also worth mentioning the special attacks use up the little blue lightning meter. If you kind of see up there in the top left of my health bar, the blue meter underneath it is your kind of special energy. I don't think it's given an official name. You can see it uses some whenever you use those special attacks. But you want to use those special attacks because they're super powerful, especially when upgraded all the way and you have Gleam at the same time. Those things can really wreck just about anything in the game, especially the spin kick. I really find it to be the best one. So you can knock Abobo off the ledge there. It's actually an achievement for that, but I've already unlocked it, of course. And this is also kind of another cool thing. If you can juggle enemies in the air and get them in just the right spot, you can actually keep hitting them and get those combos in. It feels really good, actually. So we've reached the end of the first level, and since there's no boss, this little purse thing falls down from the sky, and we've got to keep hitting it to try to get more rewards. And it's a bit slow, and I don't really know if it's worth the rewards, because you get some tapes and like a few extra bucks. But apart from that, it just takes up time. One more. Oh, well, crap. Yeah, it didn't quite go like I wanted, but we got plenty of rewards still. That's also a pretty rockin' little stage complete theme. So, finish stage 1. If I hadn't already unlocked all the stages, this would of course bring us to the next one. So let's go ahead and start the back alleys. And the music on this one is actually not a remix of the classic Double Dragon theme. They kind of alternate between those remixes and these new sort of original soundtracks, which are done really well. The music in the game in general, both the remixes and the original stuff, is all really good. So it definitely adds to the atmosphere, you know? So here's an example of just taking out, just wrecking those two Lindas with a Gleam special attack. It does so much damage. Attack. There we go. You kind of have to wait. If you sit there and wait for it, it gets a bit nerve-wracking. But just attack already. And of course, you can pick up these barrels. You move a bit slower, but the barrels do a lot of damage. They'll take out most enemies in one shot. Unfortunately, we're relegated to the slow speed, so you know what, screw it. I know what's coming up anyway, and we want these explosive barrels. You can do a cool little chain here. Take out 4 guys with one throw. That works pretty well. You also have to watch out for the cartwheel those Williamses do, because, oh, well, that was kind of bad. Because they actually attack out of it, and they can be pretty quick. Make sure to dodge that guy's knife. The knives do a lot of damage. So full health recovery there. Anytime you see a big 2-liter of soda there, it's going to be a full health recovery. So we've got a building to go in here. You may have noticed it on the map screen, but it said there was a shop here. This is the shop. So I've got a few options. We can talk to this guy, but you never really get anything useful out of him. Sometimes they'll give you tips, but you can also buy items. We've got a full health and energy recovery and extra lives. You can hold up to 9 at a time, as well as we can buy tapes for our different special attacks and stances. You can see most of these are pretty much at their capacity, but this one we can go ahead and spend some cash on. I've got some left over from the last time I played, so let's just go ahead and buy these out until we're out of money.
Thank you.
And you can see now it's upgraded to 27 out of 50, so that's going to upgrade its strength. It's going to do more damage if we ever use that Dragon Swarm attack, which, to be honest, we're pretty much going to be sticking with the spin kick the entire time, so you may not actually get to see that. Extra life back here. Again, make sure to check just about every collectible you can. Every destructible item, I mean. Because you can find a lot of lives. They do try to help you out when they can. And he does have these kind of one-liners. If you kill enemies with different weapons. Observe the Stabbeth is probably one of my favorite ones. Knife knowing ya is also pretty good. Yeah, there's a cartwheel kick. Thankfully, I was kind of out of the way there. Yeah, the spin kick is also really good, not just for the damage, but it does give you a few seconds of invincibility while you're using it as well. and definitely really helps with crowd control. If you're surrounded by 3 or 4 guys and you can't keep up with it, just get a spin kick and that'll knock them all out of your way. It's a bit of a slow point here. We're just kind of making our way around.
What's down there?
Well, about to find out. Yeah, and also this screen is a big River City Ransom reference. If you've ever played that back on the NES, there were a lot of screens like that with just big random pits in the road and the wall you can jump on. So this is the Tape Smith. It's kind of the other place we can upgrade ourselves. You can talk to this guy as well. This is nothing really useful. And this we're going to spend a different type of resource we haven't seen yet called Mithril. You get Mithril from defeating bosses, so obviously if it's your first time you wouldn't have any at this point. Basically this will upgrade the maximum capacity. You can see I can only collect 30 tapes for that attack, and now I can collect 50. So in order to fully upgrade something to get 50 out of 50 tapes, you have to both collect the 50 tapes and upgrade its capacity. So it can take a few playthroughs to actually get something to max, but you definitely have to make sure you take care of both parts. Yep, I'm not sure about that. I feel like I dodged that one, but might have been just like 1 frame too early or something. I find they're actually kind of easier to dodge when they have weapons, unless it's the whip. That's pretty tough to dodge sometimes. Whoop, there we go. I love Abobo when he comes in. They gave him a great voice in this game. Now, Abobos can be kind of tough. That little like dual fist attack thing can't be ducked. So you just have to either dodge out of the way or get hit, usually. You can see those guys can take a ton of abuse, too, if you're not gleamed. They took a lot of stabs and he's still not down, but 1 stab after gleaming and he goes down.
I think they went in there. It seems like a trap, but I gotta find Marion. Man, this was a trap.
Oh, that's a pretty interesting way to get up here. Got a selection of weapons, but let's take the hair pick. Why not?
Marion! Who are you?
I'm your worst nightmare! Skullmageddon! How about you?
So we got our first boss, Skullmageddon. You can actually use the hair pick to make him get stunned for a minute there while he tries to get it out of his cap. For every other enemy, it just doesn't do anything, but it actually has a use against him, which is kind of interesting. So bosses in this game can be a bit tough if you don't know their attacks and their patterns and everything. You know, it's kind of the tradition with those classical beat-em-ups. A lot of time the boss would just completely wreck you. But you can get some gleams off of that standard sword attack. Otherwise, he's got sort of the dual, kind of like the dual fist the Abobo has. It will kind of just shrug you off. That can't really be ducked. You're going to have to roll out of the way of that one. And he's got a couple other attacks that he uses pretty rarely. That one he only uses if you're far enough away that he can't hit you with the sword. You can duck that and get some gleam, but a lot of the times you can't actually get in there to hit him. Well, that was kind of bad. That actually does quite a bit of damage. That's his most damaging attack. It's usually pretty simple to avoid, but I just got caught in a bad spot there. So obviously the strategy to do as much damage as possible is to get a gleam going and then do the spin kick. You'll get the most damage in that way. You can also juggle him a little bit, but not too much.
Time to make a marrow escape! Bon voyage!
And of course, like I said, you get Mithril. That's what those things were popping out of them there. You get Mithril from defeating bosses. Get a ton because I'm on Double Dragon difficulty. You get like 3 or something on normal. So, you know, definitely a lot more than you'd see your first time through. But we've defeated our first boss. as well as stage 2. It's time to move on to the third one, the space layer. You can see there's a shop here as well, so that's always nice.
Man, he's gotta be around here somewhere.
This is coming out of William's salary! Is this thing on? This rocket-powered space dojo will be your grave!
Okay, so now we gotta fight our way through the rocket-powered space dojo. And we've also got a new enemy type here, the Hover Bizzle, which is kind of strange. But basically, these guys can be taken out by grabbing. You don't use grabbing a whole lot otherwise against regular guys. You can also, if you grab 2 at the same time, sort of knock them together like that. It's just kind of fancy. Doesn't really do a whole lot otherwise, but... And again, we've got a remix of another Double Dragon song going on in this level. Like I said, they kind of alternate from level to level. So this weapon's pretty good. This is kind of a little like shock, like a prod type thing, I guess. And it does some pretty decent damage, especially when you're gleamed. See, it actually took out those 2 guys in 1 hit, so that works pretty well. You kind of have to watch out for the TNT robots, the dynamite robots, whatever you want to call them, because they will explode whenever you throw them and hit the ground. If you throw them at the corner that you're in, then you will damage yourself and kind of look like an idiot, like just a second ago.
Attention all geishas! Please report to the bridge to greet our guests!
So that's our cue to get a new enemy type here, Ichisumi. You can see I just threw the hair pick at her and it did basically nothing. So it has more effect on the boss than it does on the enemies. That's kind of interesting. Basically, these guys have really simple patterns. They don't go after you or anything. They just appear in a random spot and throw their fan. Or if they appear right next to you, they'll do this sort of whirlwind attack that you can pretty easily dodge and get a gleam chance. So otherwise, you just wait for them to throw their fans and then hit them whenever they're open. Pretty simple. They're only really dangerous when they're with other enemies and you can't really pay attention to both the enemies you're fighting and the geishas at the same time. So otherwise, if you get a gleam, you can just take them out with 1 hit. They're pretty simple.
Williams, I'm docking your pay for this!
And of course, it's always fun to break his plasma screens. I think it's actually an achievement for breaking all of them in this level, but I don't think I've ever done it. There's a few that are kind of weird and out of the way. That jump kick can be tough to avoid because you cannot duck it. You have to dodge out of the way or just, otherwise generally avoid it. And a lot of the time they do it while you're fighting other people, so it can be a bit tough to avoid sometimes.
This is coming out of William's salary! All of them!
Ooh, man, that was kind of close. See, this is an example. They usually pair up the Ichisumis, the geishas, with other enemies. They're usually not just by themselves. Oop, make sure to duck that. Nope, nope, no. That sucks when you miss them and then they just disappear. They show up behind you and hit you. Not doing too well against this one, but... There we go. Oh, I was hoping I could hit the fan with the bat. That would have been cool. Ah. And duck. There we go. Ah, I couldn't quite get over there in time. Man, I love that combo. Uppercutting them into the flying knee. That's so good. It's also kind of a Double Dragon 2 thing, I believe. The flying knee, you can sort of chain, and it did quite a lot of damage. So it's cool to see some of the similar attacks. That's one of the things I really like about this game. You see a lot of people, I've looked on a few forums and stuff, there are a lot of people saying it's a terrible remake of the original Double Dragon. It's not really a remake. It's just sort of like a... Oh yeah, there's also that funny animation whenever you use the key and you actually miss the thing. I think you can actually hit an enemy with that, but it's really hard. But yeah, like I was saying, it's not really a remake. It's just kind of like sort of an homage to the series, you know. It's got some of the same stuff in it, but it's got its new content as well. I think it does a really good job with sort of blending the original Double Dragon stuff and, you know, putting things in that fans of the series will recognize, as well as introducing its own new systems, you know, with the tapes and the gleam and all that. It doesn't have to keep things, you know, it's still Double Dragon, but it doesn't have to keep things fresh. So I think it's really a strong point in this game. And this battle can be a bit tricky because the Abobo is very fond of knocking you into those spikes, and those spikes do a lot of damage. Like here. Oh, okay. So you just gotta hope you don't land on them while they're up. Otherwise, you can just fight the Abobo like normal. And the spikes, of course, can be used against him as well, so that's another kind of cool thing. If there's a hazard, it works against you, but you can also use it against the enemies, too. Alright, let's see if we can do a little better this time. I think we were only one hit away last time from finishing it. Oh, no, I missed again. Man. That's pretty great animation. I like that a lot. Okay, so we move on to stage 4, which is another part of the rocket-powered space dojo, I think it was. It's the airlock. This is probably my least favorite stage in the game, maybe. I'd have to think about that a little bit, but I'm not really a huge fan of the music in this level. Like, it's fine, you know, it works alright, but I liked the previous stage's music better. It's got a lot of these fights that take place in, well, airlocks, of course. That's kind of the title of the, the stage, you know. But basically, you can do a lot of this just by stunning guys and then having them go into the airlock. Of course, you can get taken out yourself. It's worth mentioning that it doesn't actually kill you in one shot like it does the enemies. It just does damage and then respawns you back inside. So it makes things a little bit easier than if you were to just die instantly every time you fell in. So the music's fine, you know, it's 80s. It fits the aesthetic just like they're going for, but I don't know. It's okay. That's good enough for me. And it's actually also an achievement for winning one of these airlock fights without ever actually attacking someone. Yeah, and he does this thing where he says it's hard vacuum and holds his breath. There's no like timer or anything. That's what I was worried about the first time I went through this. But you can just take your time. You don't need to worry about it. He can hold his breath forever. Ooh, alright, yeah. And anytime you get into fights with pits like this one's a little bit tricky because the pit is in the middle, but if you get a chance to knock an enemy into it, you can take them out instantly. Sometimes they'll just cartwheel themselves into the gap, so you know, that's always helpful too. It can also be good to sort of segregate enemies, to sort of keep some of them on one side and some of them on the other, so you only have to deal with a few at once. So you can kind of strategize a little bit when you get arenas like that. And we can just ignore this lady. She's got a grenade, so just throw something at her. And we'll get out of here. Another airlock fight. This one kind of sucks because it's really quick. It doesn't stay open very long, but it reopens really quickly after closing. So you just have to make sure to stay away from the airlock at just about all times. Or try to get them as close to it as possible, of course. Oh, yeah. Taken out again. The good news is sometimes enemies will just walk into the airlock by themselves. They're smart enough to try to avoid it. There's not a lot I can do about that grenade. They're smart enough to try to avoid it if they can, but if there's a straight path, oh man, I'm not a huge fan of this one. If there's a straight path towards you that leads them like right through the airlock like door there, they won't care. They'll just walk right through it. Oh, if that grenade hadn't gone off, she would have got taken out. Oh well, she got taken out anyway. I think one of my least favorite things about it, aside from, of course, being able to just be sucked out of the stage there and take damage, is that it like screws up the positioning a lot of the times, and people just like start moving around randomly. I don't know, not a huge fan. But, you know, it is an interesting mechanic, and it's something to keep it fresh, so I guess you can't really fault them too much for that. Oh yeah, there was also a key there that we could get, and we would have to actually carry it throughout the entire airlock, which is hard to do, because the key can get sucked out as well. Occasionally these worms will show up that bust out of the wall. You can basically just punch them a bunch to get a whole bunch of restorative items from them, and some cash as well. I think some tapes every now and then too. Alright, so there's one more Ijisumi here. Just throw a fan at her. Oh, he hit like twice. That's weird. Yeah, getting used to the timing for the cartwheel kick is actually not as bad as it looks. It looks kind of random and sporadic, but the thing to remember is they can actually only do the kick out of standing on their hands. Like, so anytime their hands are on the floor is when they can do the kick. So you can kind of use that to gauge, you know, when you think they're going to kick. And yeah, that's a weird attack there. I'm not quite sure how to do it. I think it's like forward punch. You do kind of this like shove thing with both hands. It's really annoying because it takes a lot of time, and it's definitely not a strong attack. So it just kind of randomly happens sometimes. I'm not really sure what it's there for. Let's go and juggle this chick a bit. Yeah, there we go. Abobo get taken out. Oh, yeah, nice. It's always good to have a way to instant kill these strong enemies like that. Nope. Yeah, and I think this room is actually optional. There was just a 1-up at the beginning, so, you know, if you get the 1-up and then you die, it's you kind of just did this room for nothing, but whatever. Might as well spend some time breaking the TVs, right? Makes Gomageddon a little bit angrier.
They've already gotten this far? You've got to be deploy the Mandroid!
So take a guess at which game this section is referencing a bit. Yeah, you can definitely tell that's the Mega Man boss room introduction there. And we fight Mecha Biker on the other side. This guy's kind of an interesting boss fight. You can see he'll try to zoom across the screen and hit you. I like to use the spinning kick to get some damage in there. And whenever he does this, just avoid it. Just get out of the way. And every now and then, whenever he goes across, his bike will break down like that, and you can get some good shots in. Just make sure to get out of the way once it gets fixed. Oh, I actually managed to gleam that attack. That was kind of cool. But otherwise, these are the only two things he does while he's on his bike. So he's starting to, there we go. Just knock him off there. So when he's on the ground, he's actually even easier than that. Anytime he does that little hop, he's getting ready to do some slides. So just make sure to jump out of the way. Otherwise, he just stands there a lot and lets you get a whole lot of shots in. Very rarely interrupting to do his attack with his gun. See, I just sat there and punched him forever. Also got a nice little juggling combo in there. So it's pretty easy to just get Gleam off of that, off of his 3 shots there, and then do a ton of damage on the way back. I was attacking a little too much. The gun also does basically no damage, so this boss is actually super easy. Like, you don't really even have to think about it. So just punch him. And he even has a death animation like Mega Man as well. It was meant to be an even bigger reference, I think, because if you take a look at some of the concept art for the game, Mecha Biker actually even had like the Mega Buster, like his arm. He had the arm cannon.